And now on the line is last year's Youth Ambassador for the NCBI, Ciarán O'Brien. Ciarán, welcome to the programme.
Hi, it's lovely to be here.
Okay, I know, Ciarán, you've been doing work experience with the NCBI recently, and as I mentioned a second ago, I know you were a Youth Ambassador with last year at the NCBI. Could you tell us a little more about yourself in general, and then about your relationship with the NCBI?
Well, one thing about myself is I've always had a love of fashion, and that's kind of been brought on through my visual impairment, because the one thing I've always noticed is I've always been able to see colour the best. And that's always kind of standed out to me. And that's kind of created the idea of fashion for me. And the NCBI has been able to help me through different kind of areas of, let's say, for work experience. I set up a part of the day where I'm working in one of their retail stores, where they would mainly focus on fashion and selling different clothes and so on. So that's one of the ways that they really did help me through that. And they've also helped me in different ways through education. Through primary school, having large books so then I could see it and being able to try out different equipment. See, let's say, like, did the magnifier work? Did a camera work to see a board? Did just different equipment suit different things throughout the years?
Okay, and I know, as you're saying there, you have some kind of a visual disability. Can you tell us more about what it is?
So I have albinism, and that kind of affect how I would see things, and everyone would see something different with it. Some people might be able to see writing best, some people might see colour and patterns, which I would see, and it always affects someone differently. And the way I've always kind of noticed it would have affected me was throughout, let's say, different social situations. Let's say when you go into a room and there's several people in it, it can be quite daunting because you might not be able to make out people's facial features. Even though you know that you might know the majority of people, you might not be able to make them out when you first go in. So then you have to try and go into that situation where you have to go up to people not knowing who they are.
Do you think people understand what it's like to have a visual impairment?
And that is one of those things where it depends. See, my closest friend, I've known him since I was 4. So he's constantly always seen what it's like for me on a good to a bad day, what I can and what I can't see. So in that way, yes, but when people first meet you, they have their judgments, they have their ideas of what it could be like, and some people might not know what it is like. So you kind of have those ordinary questions, and then you can also have that kind of idea of in schools, and especially kind of when you first go into, let's say, well, when you're finishing up in primary and kind of going to secondary, they can kind of be those simple judgments that kind of teenagers make of, oh, they need this to see something, or because they're so out writing, they might not be as intelligent. So that's always kind of brought on a bit of competitiveness for me, academically anyway, to kind of always show that I have my intellect and how it's always made me fairly competitive.
And you're in secondary school at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in 4th year.
Alright, cool. In Dublin, is it?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned there you have a passion about fashion. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, with what I said before, with how I've always been able to see colours and patterns the best, it's always kind of been a form of expression. So because so many people would kind of, especially males and around my age group, would be more kind of expressing themselves for football and different types of sports like that, I kind of found my way through it with fashion, and is that expression interest through a kind of different print. So that's just wanting to look intelligent and wanting to express different personality traits. I've always found it so much easier to do it through fashion than do it through sports.
Do you think having a visual impairment has impeded your independence?
That's one of those situations where my parents have always kind of gone and wanted to be able to give me as much as possible without putting in a situation where it might affect confidence. So, like, they've always signed me up for things. They've always tried things. So in that way, no. But when it comes to situations, let's say with independent travel, that would be in a different situation because, let's say, if a bus doesn't have audible announcements, if they don't have different things to make it accessible for people with visual impairments, it can make it so much more difficult to give that independence to your son or daughter that may have one. And that in that way, like they've always kind of wanted to be for a long time until around kind of ages 13, 14. They'd like to go places with me to kind of show, oh, this is what you can do if anything did happen where there wasn't audible announcement. And like kind of go into different apps that I could have used for the bus because I can't really see the bus timetables because of the contrast of the orange against the black writing. It's always been those situations that they've always tried to boost up my independence, but I didn't get it as quickly with travel as more teenagers would have.
And you were the youth ambassador with the NCBI last year. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, it's one of those things where I get to give people a voice that might not have had it beforehand. Because I know throughout when I was younger, I never had someone to look up to, except for my sister who had albinism as well. She's always got to kind of give me that advice, and I've always wanted to be a voice for someone like that. Because, as you know, in the media, there's a lack of people with visual impairment or that suffer with blindness. So what I've always wanted to do then is be able to be that voice for someone, and that's always been important to me.
I know, as you mentioned, you have a big passion about fashion. Do you have any subjects in school that you're really passionate or interested about?
I love business, but also kind of home ec. I've always kind of had a passion for those two.
Okay. Do you know or have any good idea of what you plan to do after you finish school? You got plan to go to college or anything?
I do want to go to college. It's kind of one of those situations where with choosing colleges, you always want to choose somewhere that is going to have a good accessibility, that's somewhere that's going to be easy to get around. My number one choice would be DCU, and what I would love to study is in between. I know I want to study business, but kind of seeing which one is the best, like most accessible. Like there's certain things when you do have visual impairment you have to cut out. Like my number one choice when I was younger anyway was being a fashion designer. But then from slowly kind of seeing that wouldn't be accessible, then I have to kind of look at different things, and accounting was a choice for a while. But because there'd be so much small print on one page, and that was another no. So then it's kind of looking at, for me anyway, because I'm not sure yet, it's kind of making a list of things. So let's say like my list of things that I would be able to do is kind of more so on the side of marketing, retail, etc. And then I also had to kind of make a list of things that I can't do. Let's say like being an electrician or going into doing an apprenticeship or so on.
So your disability, it does have a big impact on your life, doesn't it? Like it's affecting what you can and cannot study in college. It's a big impact. Okay, you mentioned at the start of the interview, you spoke a bit about your relationship with the NCBI, and you were a youth ambassador last year. How's the work experience been going the last couple of weeks?
It's been really helpful to kind of be able to see what it's like to be able to work in a workplace where you get to use different equipment that you would use in school, because then it kind of gets to boost up those skills. And to be able to see what it's like to work in a workplace that isn't just like working in a pharmacy or working in a super value, because it gives more independence. It kind of lets you also see, would you like to go into a job like fundraising or going into something like communications? It gives you that experience, and to be able to have that experience with somewhere that's helped me so much, it makes you feel like you're being able to give back something.
Okay, Ciarán, to come towards the end of the interview, is there anything else you want to let our listeners in Near FM know about before we finish up the interview?
Mainly not to kind of always make those forced adjustments on people, to let's say, given the stereotypical ideas of what someone with a visual impairment or a disability in general is, because everyone is different, and be able to accept that individuality.